Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mila, you're my book nook, and today we have the updated Rick Riordan Presents video. So about 3 years ago, I think, is it 3 years ago? Pretty sure it's 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I think. I did a Rick Riordan selection, Rick Riordan's verse, Rick Riordan Presents verse video, where I'll link it up here, where I went through all the published and soon to be published within that year, because it was like at the beginning of the year, published books and all that were announced. And I went through them and I talked about them and all that stuff. And so several years later, there are more books. Here we are. So I have like the books. As you can see, they're also color coded. So I'll let you know which ones are the newer ones and all that fun stuff. So Rick Riordan Presents is an imprint under Disney Hyperion that is created by Rick Riordan, surprise, the author of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Heroes of Olympus, Magnus Chase, King Chronicles, and a bunch of other stuff, and a bunch of stuff in between, right? So he created an imprint as an answer to the question of, will you write about other mythologies, other cultures, other mythologies, other folklore? He was like, nah, I'm too white for this. I do not feel comfortable. I don't think I will do the culture, the folklore, the history justice, basically, essentially. And so he created an imprint to give the chance to people from various places all over the world the chance to tell their countries and their people's stories, mainly focusing on mythology as well as folklore and like fairy tales and stuff. But also there's, I believe, one science fiction duology, but it still has like Western European representation, which is great, honestly. So we'll just dive into the books and I'll tell you sort of a bit about them. So the first set of books that were published, the first one that was announced for the imprint, was the Pandava series, or later on it became the Pandava Quartet, and then it became the Pandava Quintet by Roshani Chokshi. This is Indian representation in Hindu mythology. And the first one was published in 2018, and the last one was published in 2022. And this is the first one in Rick Riordan Presents, like the first signing, right? The first set of books that were signed, so to speak, the first author that was signed in. And she also has another book, but that's a standalone, which we'll talk about in a minute, a little later. Then we have Stormrunner by J.C. Cervantes. This is Mayan mythology. And I don't remember exactly what the representation was, if it was Mayan representation. I'm not too sure about how the indigenous labels sort of work in the South, because I'm in Canada. So we have the Stormrunner trilogy, and the first one was published in 2018, and the last one was published in 2020. And then we also have a spin-off called The Shadow Bruja by J.C. Cervantes as well. It follows, I believe, one of the characters in the original trilogy. I don't know. I don't remember. And we have, the first book was published in 2022, and the second one was published in 2023. And Dawn of the Jaguar is one of the newer books that I didn't have in the original video. Then we have the Thousand Worlds trilogy by Yoon Lee. And we have, the first book was published in 2019, and then we have the last book published in 2023. And Foxnare is one of the newer ones as well. It's Korean mythology, Korean rep, all that stuff. Then we have Sal and Gabi by Carlos Hernandez. And this is the science fiction duology, so to speak. So it leans more towards science fiction rather than fantasy, and it is Cuban representation. So we have the first book in 2019 and the second book in 2020. And then we have Tristan Strong by Kwame Mbalia. I hope I said that correctly. I'm so sorry if I didn't. We have African American representation and then West African mythology, I believe. So we have the first book in 2019 and the third book in 2021. Then we have Paola Santiago by Tehlor K. Mejia, which is Mexican representation, and I believe is Mexican mythology. So the first one is in 2020, and the last one was published in 2022. Then we have The Adventures of Sikaziz by Sarwat Chada. Fury the Dragon Goddess, the second book, was another one that was not in my original video because it was published after video. So the first book we have was published in 2021, and then the second one was published in 2023. And then we have The Gifted Clans by Gracie Kim. When I did my video, I don't think we had confirmation that it was going to be a trilogy. I think it was going to be a duology, but then she revealed that it was a trilogy. I don't remember exactly, but I know there's some surprise about that one. So yeah, so we have the first book in May in 2021, and we have the third book in 2023. And The Last Fallen Realm is the third book that also wasn't in the original video. Then we have Moa by Lori Emily, and I don't know how to say this. Is it H-Mong? Is it Mong? I'm so sorry. I do not know how to say this. Every time I come across this word, I do not know how to say it. But anyways, so this one actually is going to be a trilogy. We do not have information about the last book nor when it's going to be published, and there was quite a huge gap between the first and the second book. The first book was published in 2021, and the second book was published in 2024, so just last year. And we don't know. We know that there's going to be a third one. We don't know when it's going to come. We don't know what it's called. We don't know what's going to happen. Then we have, Then we have Surwa Boteng, and this is Ghanaian. That trips me up. That spelling trips me up. The first book we have was published in 2022, and the third book was published in 2025. I think 2025. Yeah. So then we have Outlaw Saints by Daniel Jose Older, and this is the first one series. So this is a duology, and this pulls from Santeria, which is an Afro-Cuban sort of group, and so they have their own sort of mythology, which pulls both from African myths and Cuban folklore. So the first one was published in 2022, and the second one was published in 2023. Then we have Winston Chu by Stacey Lee. This is Chinese mythology. First one was published 2023, and the second was published 2024. And then we have Venom by Sajni Patel. This one is Greek and Indian. I believe this is more like Indian representation with Greek mythology. And this is another YA duology. The first one was published in 2024, and the second was published in 2025. And as for the standalones, we have Race to the Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, which is Navajo mythology. That was published in 2020. We have The Spirit Glass by Roshani Chokshi, the same author as the Pen of Quintet. That was published in 2023. It Waits in the Forest by Sarah Das, which is Caribbean folklore mythology, which was published in 2024. We have The Dark Becomes Her by Judy Lin, which is Chinese and Taiwanese mythology and folklore, which is published in October 2024. And then we also have upcoming in November of 2025, we have It Lurks in the Night by Sarah Das as well, also Caribbean mythology. And this is just a quick rundown of stats of how many books were published per year. In 2018, 2 books were published. In 2019, 5 books were published. In 2020, 6 books were published. In 2021, 7 books were published. In 2022, 7 books were published. In 2023, 8 books were published. In 2024, 5 books were published. And in 2025, we will have 3 books that were going to be published. And that's, I know this is a fairly short one compared to the other one, but I hope that sort of breaks down all the books, and editing Mila will take care of, having all the covers and making it known that this is a new one, this is a new one, this is an old one. And as usual, I'll have all the links down below so that you can buy the books. Those that have an asterisk means I am an affiliate, so I might get a small kickback, but that will be at no extra cost to you. It'll just help me, support me and the channel. And yeah, and I will have an updated version of this for Instagram as well if you want to check that out. If I spoke too fast or something. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down below. Which ones are most exciting, which ones you would love to see in the imprint. And I will see you in the next one. Happy reading!